It's cold, wet, manky. This is what winter's like in the UK. Let's see how the garden looks and what jobs I've yet to do on my winter diary series. We start by the back door of the house. We've still got some pots looking good. We've still got the begonias and plectranthus looking fine. But I have dug up the plants that are in this pot. These were the begonia fuchsioides and also one of the tender aroids as well. So they're in the greenhouse. We'll look at them a little bit later in the video. But I'll just say, like I said in the intro, it's pretty cold and manky, the weather at the moment. We had a frost last night. It was 1.8 degrees, so just a touch on the ground. And we also had it the night before, so it's getting a lot cooler. And the weather's definitely not very nice for being outside at all. So this video I'm doing handheld under an umbrella. And although the picture looks pretty light, I'll let you know it is pretty dark and gloomy. It's foggy. It's not the best weather at all, and it's absolutely chucking it down. In front of us, we can see some of the plants still looking good. The Irisene's not been touched by the frost yet because it's got a bit of a canopy above it. But the Coleus or Solenstormum, that's all gone now. It was pretty much, because we've had cooler nights over the last few weeks, it was looking pretty bad. So I've dug that up and got rid of that. But there's plenty of cuttings. So in this video, we'll go around the garden and see what jobs I've yet to complete. There's still a fair few jobs I need to do. And then we'll go and have a look in the greenhouse where I have done some jobs, and you can see what's living in there rather than in the garden. But as most of the garden has a good hardy backdrop of plants like the bamboos and the palms, it's still looking pretty good overall as we head through November. It'll be Christmas before we know it. So yeah, blue bamboos, as we always say, is looking good. And I'll try to fight through here. So I've yet to dig up gingers. There's no issue, don't need to do that yet. And I've also yet to dig up, nearly fell over then, my Sycamensis bamboo. So that'll be done soon. I just want a drier day, really, rather than making a big muddy mess. But as you can see, it's not been hurt by the very, very light frost we had the last 2 mornings. It only lasted an hour or two when it went down to, 1-2 degrees. Ricinus still looking fine up there as well. But a lot of things now have finished flowering. So the gingers have finished flowering. Cleome spider flowers have finished flowering. What's not finished flowering or even started flowering yet, if we pan up, right up there, that's a tree dahlia. And they're huge, huge plants. I grow it for the foliage and just the huge size of it rather than the flowers. But they do flower in good years. But we'll probably get a proper frost before we see flowers on that. Now we're going to try to get through the garden. So this is the first time I've been down in over a week. So I'm just going to have to push past all this foliage. So I'm going to use the umbrella as a bit of a shield to do that as we get through. Because it's very, very wet today. Just fight through. Here we go. So Gunnera still looking nice, no damage on that. Doesn't need protecting at all really. So for overwintering Gunnera, basically you let the leaves get frosted and browned off a bit, and then you just press the leaves down into the crown just to protect the growth point, and that is how to overwinter a Gunnera. And even if you don't do that, they'll get through winter, but it's just nice to protect the crown. So that's overwintering Gunneras. The gingers, still got the nice foliage on these, and I could collect some seeds as well because they have formed on this one. But again, we wait for the first proper frost to blacken that off before we tidy up the foliage. But even things under there, I've just noticed we've still got the Persian shields, the purple leaves down there, still looking fine. The Irisene's still looking fine here. And now I've taken away loads of zinnias and other foliage plants here and flowering plants, annuals. You can see my very nice rare palm. This is a cross between the Syagris palm and Butia erispatha, so that should be a beautiful coconut-like palm. given the years once it gets into good growth, because it's only planted this year, so we'll see how that turns out in future years. So as you can see, I've not done a lot yet in this part of the garden because we have not had the first proper frost. The only major thing is digging up or taking cuttings of the very tender plants. Now, look, it's very skiddy where I am, so the footage on this might be a bit all over the place. I'm skidding about, jostling between the plants. And this is a Gunnera tinctorias. Totally green, still look okay, but they've had a bit of wind damage, so some of the leaves have fallen down a bit now. But protecting these is basically nothing. I just literally let them just get on with it and just tidy up the old leaves, folding them in on the crown. The grasses are flowering, although it's very wet up there. Yeah, there we are. You can see them scanthus flowers up there, but they don't self-seed, which is a good thing. Now, try to get through the archway. And then you can come down here. The echiums are still looking great. So some people say, well, how do I protect echiums over winter? And the truth is, really, you just want a mild winter for them to get through. Yes, you can put a bit of fleece over, but that'll only protect it from the lightest frost, really. You know, so really, if you get a cold winter, like last winter, then most people's echiums suffered. So I'm not going to protect these at all. They'll chance it. If it's mild, it'll get through. If it's not mild, they'll die, and we'll just start again from seed. So these plants here, nice, big, substantial plants. These were sown in March, April time this year. So it's only taken 6-8 months to get to this very nice size of a plant. So they've done a good job this year, being foliage plants. If they get through winter, they'll flower and look amazing next spring. But it's really for the foliage that I grow these plants. So I'm happy with the performance they've given. If they don't get through winter, we'll just start again next year. So let's quickly go around here, because there's one job I've not done, which I should have done. So hopefully you've done it. If you've not done it yet, hopefully you're doing it soon, and that is protecting arid plants. You can see I've stuck a piece of wood in the ground there. So that's the start of a frame that will go over the agaves over there. I've quickly put a cloche over an Allopolyphylla and also an Americana over there, small one, and I'll be constructing a bigger frame over the plants over here. So let's just get through. So yeah, start a piece of wood here, just knock these posts into the ground. There'll be a plastic cover going over the top, and then that'll protect the big Montanas and the big Americanas there. But the small Americana variegata is just under a cloche, the main plant. The small plants, the pups, haven't been protected yet. The rain's really coming down now. So yeah, this is what winter is like in the UK a lot of the time. It's just wet, it's misty, murky, cold, damp, which is everything arid plants really don't want to be subjected to. But that's the reality of growing these plants in the UK. It's great in summer, look fantastic under a nice hot summer's day, but in winter they've got to cope with this. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it is pretty heavy now. Very wet and miserable. But it's good to see what the garden looks like in winter. Early winter. I've just noticed, here we go, we've got loads of aeoniums there, so I thought I'd dug them up, but obviously I've missed those, so I will be going around and digging those up because they are more tender. This one is blushing beauty, which is okay-ish down to freezing. It's got through winter several years ago, but ideally it wants to be dug up before you get the first proper cold frost. Down to -1-ish is fine. Get to -3 and then it'll be very much damaged and possibly die. So we won't go too much further down the garden. Other jobs I need to do, I need to dig up all these seedlings of Chiskea gigantea bamboo. That'll be done probably early in spring. I'm going to clear all this area out as well. But in terms of winter jobs, the next thing will be to make the cover on the arid bed. The Bryomata, for those asking, won't be protected unless the forecast is for very heavy snow, where I might put some fleece around the crown just while the snow's falling. And when the snow's gone, I'll take that off, and that just stops ice, like big pack ice, forming in the crown of the plant. Right, let's see if we can get through here without getting absolutely soaked. Things I do to make YouTube videos. Right, let's get around here. So seeds, I've already collected a load of seeds of these amaranthus, and to be honest, most do best when they just fall to the ground off their own accord, and then they'll provide more plants next year. So let's go down to the greenhouse and I'll show you the plants I have already brought in, because that'll make more sense then, rather than looking at the plants that are outside in the garden. Oh, and I forgot to mention brugmansias. They are a pest magnet, so before they go into the greenhouse I'll be waiting basically for it to get a little bit colder, and then I'll be defoliating these, because I don't want any of this foliage in the greenhouse because it will have bugs on it. So I'll be taking off all the foliage of the brugmansias and storing them in their pots with just their stems and branches, and then they'll re-leaf up in spring. That's the easiest way to overwinter them anyway, because you don't really need many leaves when they're not particularly growing. And then as soon as it warms up in spring, you'll see the new growth and it'll be bug free. Okay, so now I've come into the relative warmth of the greenhouse, and when I say warmth, if we just look at the temperature on the wall, I've got the thermostat, and that's reading 9 degrees down there, so that's how warm it is in here. And that's a lot warmer than outside, and we're dry in here as well. So let's have a look at what's in here and why it's in here already. So basically the reason the plants are in here is these are frost tender plants. So any plants that can be damaged by the slightest of frost I brought in. So we have got lots of succulent plants, and these have been also brought in now just to dry out a bit, because they want to be dry over winter. So nothing on this bench anyway will be watered probably till at least middle of February, might be March, or maybe even April. So we've got loads of aeoniums, we've got some echeveras, we've got some crassula in here, we've got some agaves as well. Now some of these would be okay outside, but I want to give them the best chance of not getting any markings over winter and looking good, so that's why they're all in here. And we'll do a full greenhouse tour, probably on a separate video, but I'll just go through a few more plants already that are in here. Aeoniums are in here, like I said, we dug those up. So I dug those up, I think it was last weekend. So I've got loads of aeoniums, and all I've done is I've just put them loosely in pots with some very, very, very gritty compost, and that's it. Some of them were kept in pots all summer, so these up here, these black-leaved ones, they were left in the pots all summer by the house for a nice summer display. And you'll notice some of them are already going green in the centre. Over winter, they generally do grow, but the light levels are very low, so you won't get the strong coloration. So you will get more greenish on all the aeoniums, whether they're variegated or not. They'll just go greener than normal. And if we turn around this way, we have got the middle bay, got some more aeoniums here. We've got this little Scheffler, which I don't know what it is. I thought when I got it, it was Delavii, but it's definitely not. It's very much like grassless, but it's got no reddish on the petioles, the creamish green, and it flowers very well and fruits very well. So I've got loads and loads of seeds on this one. So if you know what that is, let me know. It's a small growing one as well. I've got this unusual briar palm that was meant to be super silver, and I've had this over 10 years and it's not looked remotely silver yet. So maybe this is a different type of briar. It's got no thorns at all on the petioles. So again, if you know exactly what this is, let me know. These are those begonias that are dug up from that pot. These are fuchsioides, and these again have been put into some potting compost, and I use some loam-based compost just so they're heavier, because I brushed past these and I don't want to hit them over. If it was light compost, then I would be knocking these over all the time. And then this is the bench we made in episode 1 or 2 of my Winter Diaries series, and this is a heated propagating bench. So storage underneath, and then here we've got a big bench full of sand, and then it's got the heating cable in the middle of that sand, and then we've got all the tender plants on here. So these are all the cuttings that we did, I think, in episode 2 or 3, and these are the Coleus, the Plectranthus, the Irisine, and you can see they're looking really good. So I had a few people asking how to keep pests off these. Well, generally these cuttings that I picked didn't have any pests on. You know, I check over the leaves before I take the cuttings, or once I've potted them up, before I actually bring them into the greenhouse, because I don't want whitefly and greenfly, and definitely don't want red spider mite in the greenhouse. And then I just keep on top of it. So there's been no bugs this year on this area so far, which is great. But I do use bug sprays in the greenhouse. I never use them in the garden, but in this environment I will use bug sprays. But at the moment, nothing's got any bugs, pests or diseases, fingers crossed. So we've got cuttings of all sorts of other things as well. We've also got here some little seeds germinating. So these are aeoniums. These are Aeonium nobile. Thanks to Joel for giving me these seeds, and they literally germinated in 2 days. So these are about a week old now, and they germinated in 2 days. So we've got a grow light above, very bright up there. It's got the heat underneath, and that's all it's taken to get these seeds to germinate. Very fresh seeds. And here we've got some Aeonium seedlings that started a while back in here. And we've got more cuttings. So these are the more tender plants, so like the begonia here, luxurians, that definitely doesn't want frost outside. And we've carried on with more colourful foliage plants. Lots and lots of those. Some are flowering, so I should be nipping out the flowers and just checking over the leaves to make sure there's no pests and diseases on them, just in case they've developed. And they'll just stay in here all winter. So the air temperature is not great. It's like 9 degrees we've just seen in here, but the thermometer of the heating bench is set between 18 to 22 degrees. At the moment it's 21 degrees, you can see that up there. So it's nice and warm at root level. The air temperature, like I said, is a lot cooler, but at root level it's a lot warmer, which is what these plants need. So providing the roots are warm, it doesn't matter if the air temperature gets quite a bit cooler, so you can save a bit of money not heating all this airspace, but just heating the roots. One thing I do need to do though is probably move this banana plant, the very tender edible banana. This one here is the dwarf banana, Musa acuminata grand nan. So that'll be probably, I think I'm going to have to bring that into the house, because although it's warmish at the roots, I think that needs warm in the air as well just to carry on growing, so we might have to move that into the house. And then in the middle and on this side we've got some more plants. So the house plants, we've got some Swiss cheese plants here, look a bit straggly. We've got the mountain papaya up there as well. We've got some palm seedlings down here, which yes, they could be outside at the moment, but I'm just giving them a head start in here. And loads more arid plants, agaves and other echeveras down there. So they don't need much light providing it's cool. So that's why they're under the bench there. And if we go down, well, if we look down there, we've got a nice big aloe. So rather than step in that way, I'll just go back round over here. And in the propagator, we've just got some begonias that were in the pot outside, along with the other begonia fuchsioides. This is begonia sea urchin. And I basically just split that up into lots of pieces, put that into some compost, put it in the heated propagator, and hoping they will root. In fact, let's have a look. So they've been in there about a week or so, about a week now. So if I lift off the lid, This is kept at about 18-20 degrees, and I'll pick one up. Let's have a look. So yeah, that's a nice little, not quite a cutting, it did have a bit of sort of root or rhizome at the base. It's a rhizomatous type of begonia. So that should root nicely, but it'll take a bit more time to do so. I keep that nice and humid and pretty warm just to help the process of rooting there. And then there's a nice view of a Swiss cheese plant up there. So hopefully you've seen the sort of plants that I've brought into the greenhouse already, the tenderish plants. And I'll just finish off in this corner. We've got some gingers. So we've got the nice variegated ginger in the corner. And we've got the nice palm tree here, which has had down to -3, -4 in the past. But I want to give it a decent chance to grow big without losing leaves, because I don't know how hard this will be. I think -3, -4, it is limit without showing damage, because this is Paragebeia sunca, which again is a coconut-like palm, and that might get planted out in the future. We'll have to wait and see. So that's the greenhouse, that's the plants that have come in. I've shown you the garden, what jobs I've still got to do. And as you can see, it's sort of a slow process. You don't have to do it all in one go. Don't have to rush about as well, doing everything at once. The tree ferns are totally fine at the moment, don't need any protection until it turns properly cold. And the bananas, the Musa Baju and the Sycamensis are fine for now as well. But I do need to start doing those jobs soon. So I will be doing that hopefully over the next week or two. So thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Gardening with me, Yorkshire Kris. Join me next week where I'll be doing more in the garden.